And he blew his crow call, and I said, he went to walk off, and I said, Mr. Kelly, you mind if I call? I don't care. And I had my tube call under my shirt. I didn't have anything else. And I pulled that tube call out because I was wanting to film him killing a turkey. Bap, 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 bap. Ow. And he grabbed that thing and pulled it up. And he was looking at it and said, why ain't you been tooting on that damn thing the whole time? First time he no idea about cutting and running and stuff like that. And he was fascinated with that. Well, I got to go hunting with him before he was quite as famous. That's why I wanted to film him for television, to get a record of Tom Kelly. I'm going with my hero. But he made the statement to me one time. We was talking about something back in the good old days. I was saying about back in the good old days. He said, cuz, you don't understand. Today, right now, is the good old days. And he told me one year, I think it was the year I was born, like 54 or something like that. He went every day, never missed a day, never heard a turkey. He said he went to the doctor after the season and said, something's wrong. I can't hear anymore. His ears were fine, never heard a turkey. Can you imagine having that much grit today? Somebody to go every day and never hear a turkey. So I'm blessed to get that. And I always try to make sure my grandsons and people know, like, man, we're so lucky. I used to have to drive forever to go hear a turkey. And it's because of them early people, looking out for them, getting interested. And when the NWTF did the trapping and relocating, it went nuts. Thank God we had them, and they had the foresight to do that, because that's when the worm turned, and they took, because they tried different things, tame turkeys and all that. But when they were trapping and relocating turkeys, and all that money everybody was raising went to that saved it.
What was your first experience with Mr. Tom Kelly?
Tom Kelly, somebody got me the book. I told you, when I got infected with turkey hunting, I was infected, and I didn't read anything. I got out of high school by the skin of my teeth. I'm telling you, college was not in my future. I still to this day read menus, and that's about it. I read the 10th Legion. I was like, this guy gets it. He gets it better than anybody ever seen, and I'd never heard it, put into words like that. So I started looking him up and all that, and I found him at a show. I'm assuming it was probably the first NWTF show he'd ever been. Tiny little table. He had 2 or 3 books. Now he's got 30. I went and introduced myself, and I said, I'd love to film you turkey hunting. He wasn't too fired up about that idea. I said, Mr. Kelly, look at this. I said, I want to help you sell some books. And I said, I'm pretty good at hiding. I'll just follow you. I won't mess your hunt up. And he finally agreed. So I'm pretty excited now. We're going to one of his places. Again, had an atlas, some handwritten instruction over the phone. He had a hunting club he was in. It was mostly deer hunters. Spanish Fort, Alabama, which is close to the ocean, in the bay. And ain't a lot of turkeys down there, but we went. I got there the night before. He's a little gruff back then. He's a lifelong military guy. He wasn't going to pander to you or nothing. I slept in my truck. We got up, we went hunting the next morning. I left all my stuff there. I just had camera gear and mossy oak head to toe. And we walked and walked. He ain't said nothing. And I'm just following him. We went in his truck. And he got out and shut the door. And I'm just following him now. He ain't said a word. And I'm like, he does not want me here. And we went, and I'm going to sit down right there. Okay. So I got way back behind him. And I didn't know. And finally, we heard a turkey or 2, maybe. I know we heard 1. And it took forever. And he pulled out his box call, very lightly. Nothing answered. And I think he yelped one more time. And I clearly heard the turkey I know was there pitch down. And he waited, and he waited, and he waited. Little sound, nothing. So after about, I don't know, we'd been there for an hour or 2 hours. He gets up and puts his call down and just starts walking. And I'm back behind him, just, his ball and chain. And he'll stop every once in a while. He had a crow call, and I think somebody made it. It wasn't, and I don't think you could have heard it 50 yards. And we did that for a couple of hours, went back to the camp. He fixed him a sandwich. Saw him eat a tomato. I was like, that's country right there, just eating tomato like it was an apple. Didn't hunt in the afternoons. Went back the next morning, and I actually sat down in my same butt print from the day before. And same thing. This turkey gobbled. He was a little bit more to the right this time. Same, yelped a little bit, flew down. So we're walking around, and we went to the opposite direction and got down in this bottom. It was real pretty. A little stream running right there. Had a few oak trees going down it, so if you squint, it looked pretty instead of cut over in pines. And he blew his crow call, and I said, he went to walk off, and I said, Mr. Kelly, you mind if I call? I don't care. And I had my tube call under my shirt. I didn't have anything else. And I pulled that tube call out because I was wanting to film him killing a turkey. Bap, 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 bap. Ow. And he grabbed that thing and pulled it up. And he was looking at it and said, why ain't you been tooting on that damn thing the whole time? First time he no idea about cutting and running and stuff like that. And he was fascinated with that. And I said, well, you know, I kind of get filmed. I get paid to film encounters. And I said, I've always been lucky making him gobble that thing. And he asked me a bunch of questions. And I'm thinking, I'm explaining something about turkey hunting to Tom Kelly, who to me was Mickey Mantle, you know, if you're a baseball guy. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Tyson and I took him to Texas, got him a Rio. I took him to North Dakota, got him a Miriam. And to have been present to watch him do that and to see that we added more to his turkey hunting world was priceless. But I'm telling you, the old school people, that's how they did it. And had a magazine. I don't know if you remember Life magazines. He would roll them up and put them in his back pocket. That was his turkey vest. He'd put that thing on the ground, sit on it. And I actually got to see that. And it's like, how cool is that? And I tell those kind of stories at those big events and all, and people are fascinated with it because they're just as infected and wanting the club as bad as I did. And it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna share them kind of stories. But to be able to go with him before he was Colonel Tom Kelly was priceless. And I was determined to make sure everybody I met, you got to read the 10th Legion. You got to read it. And to this day, the coolest thing maybe that's ever happened to me is I wrote those 3 books, The Truth, The Whole Truth, Nothing But the Truth, mostly humor. And when I wrote the 3rd book, he wrote the foreword. And I told him, I was like, I gave him my 2 books, signed them. He said, if you ever write another one, let me know. We got to be buddies then. And what he wrote the foreword for that book, and I read it and I cried like a baby. I was like, there's nothing cooler than to have Tom Kelly write the foreword of your book. And by that time, we had hunted 12, 15 times, and that's the coolest thing ever. Every once in a while, I'll grab that book. By the way, I got y'all one sitting over there, and just read what he read. You know, when I get beat up by turkeys like 10 days in a row, like, well, you ain't that guy, you know, because he was praising. He's talking about the tube call and that thing. He's like, he can blow the bark off of trees and all that kind of stuff. And he got to where he was a fan of that. And but to have Tom Kelly write something about you, which I'm totally not worthy of, I don't know if it gets any cooler than that.
Man, that's awesome. And we hear that a lot about, especially that older generation of turkey hunters, that it's yelp 2 or 3 times and sit there for a long time. And, you know, don't be loud or anything like that.